Aunty Ngozi was the best cook in city of Umuoma village. Everyone loved her food. She could make jollof rice, pepper soup, and even pounded yam that tasted like magic. People would come from all over just to taste her cooking. She was famous, and everyone called her Aunty Ngozi because she was kind, caring, and treated everyone like family. One day, Aunty Ngozi was hired to cook at a big event. There were many important people there, and everyone enjoyed her delicious dishes. After the event, a tall man dressed in fine clothes came up to Aunty Ngozi. "I loved your food," the man said with a smile. "Would you come and cook for me at my home? I have a special event coming up, and I want the best cook in Umuoma." Aunty Ngozi felt proud. "Of course," she replied. "Since it's just a small and special gathering, I will bring my friend to help me." The man smiled even wider. "Excellent. My driver will pick you both up tomorrow." The man handed her over some money and asked her to use it to buy the ingredients she would be needing to cook. Aunty Ngozi thanked him, and grateful to God for such contract. The next day, Aunty Ngozi and her best friend Chidinma got into the man's car. They expected to go somewhere nearby, but the car kept driving farther and farther until they were no longer in the city. They began to feel uneasy because they didn't know where they were going. Finally, the car stopped in front of a big, dark house surrounded by tall trees. The man from the event was waiting for them. "Welcome," he said, guiding them inside. "The kitchen is this way." Aunty Ngozi and Chidinma followed him to the kitchen, but when they got there, they were shocked. Instead of the usual ingredients like tomatoes, onions, and meat, behold, it was another different things they saw. They saw meat that looked like that of the human. They both screamed in fear, but the man only smiled coldly. They wanted to run, but there was no escape. They were forced to start cooking. With tears in their eyes, they cooked the meat. They felt sick to their stomach, but had no choice. After they finished cooking, the man returned. "The meat is not enough," he said, his voice cold. "One of you must be added to complete it. Choose who it will be." Aunty Ngozi and Chidinma looked at each other in horror. They pleaded with the man to spare their lives, but he told them to choose or else both of them will go down. At last Chidinma volunteered, telling Aunty Ngozi to stay strong. With a heavy heart, Aunty Ngozi cooked the food, crying as she did. When the cooking was done, the man handed Aunty Ngozi a large bag of money. "You have done well," he said. His guards took her back to the city and dropped her off near the street. Since that day, Aunty Ngozi has not been the same. She no longer smiles or cooks with joy. The weight of what happened hangs over her like a dark cloud, and she wonders if she will ever find peace again. Days turned into weeks, and Aunty Ngozi withdrew from everyone around her. She stopped cooking for events and even stopped visiting her friends. The joy she once felt in the kitchen had vanished, replaced by a deep, painful sorrow. One day, a young girl named Amora, who loved Aunty Ngozi's cooking, knocked on her door. "Aunty Ngozi," she called, her voice sweet and innocent. "Please, can you teach me how to cook like you? I want to be the best cook in the city, just like you." Aunty Ngozi looked at the eager girl and felt a deep sadness. She wanted to tell Amora that cooking was no longer a source of happiness for her, but she didn't have the heart to crush the girl's dreams. Instead, she invited Amora inside. As they cooked together, Aunty Ngozi noticed something strange. The joy in Amora's eyes reminded her of the love she once had for cooking. But every time she tried to enjoy it, the terrible memories of that night came rushing back. She could see Chidinma's brave face, hear her last words, and feel the weight of guilt crushing her heart. One night, after everyone had gone to bed, Aunty Ngozi sat alone in her dark kitchen. The walls seemed to close in on her, and the silence was heavy with her grief. She couldn't escape the feeling that she had betrayed her best friend. Tears streamed down her face as she remembered the warmth of Chidinma's smile and the sound of her laughter. "I'm so sorry," Aunty Ngozi whispered into the darkness, clutching her chest as if trying to hold her heart together. I'm so sorry. The next morning, Aunty Ngozi made a decision. She gathered her remaining strength and went to Chidinma's family. With tears in her eyes, she told them the truth about what had happened. She confessed her role in the tragedy, expecting them to hate her, but they didn't. Instead, they held her as she cried, sharing in her pain. You didn't have a choice, Aunty Ngozi, they said gently. But it's important that you never forget who you are and what you stand for. Aunty Ngozi realized then that while she couldn't change the past, she could honor Chidinma's memory by making sure no one else ever suffered the same fate. She used the money she had been paid to help others, giving it to families in need and warning people about the dangers of greed and the dark paths it can lead to. As time passed, Aunty Ngozi started cooking again, but this time it was different. She cooked for those who couldn't afford a meal, for the homeless and the hungry. She taught children like Amora how to cook, not just to be great cooks but to always remember the value of life, kindness, and honesty, but the pain of that night never left her. Every time she stirred a pot, she felt the weight of her loss. Aunty Ngozi would often be found sitting quietly in her kitchen, tears in her eyes, remembering her friend and the terrible choice she had been forced to make. Moral lesson: greed and the desire for wealth can lead us down dangerous and dark paths. It's important to stay true to our values and to remember that no amount of money is worth more than the lives and well-being of others. True happiness comes from kindness, love, and the good we do for others, not from material wealth. Aunty Ngozi learned this lesson too late, and the pain of that knowledge stayed with her forever.